AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door 2022 is in the books, and I got to tell you, despite the fact that this was an extremely injury-plagued show, it was a pretty solid damn pay-per-view, which we predicted on yesterday's podcast, regardless of how badly the injuries have affected the card, regardless if you even recognize all the names on this card. If you're a fan of professional wrestling, you tune into this Forbidden Door thing, I think you're going to like it, and I think that I was proven right yesterday because this was a really fun pay-per-view, solid wrestling, a lot of really, really good matches here. We got the debut we were all hoping for, of course, and overall, I thought it was a really solid, fun show. So what I want from you guys is to hit me in the chat there with your grade for the show and give me a 1 through 10. You can give me a letter grade, A, B, C, or D, and let me know what your favorite match was on the show because I don't even know if I'm going to be able to decide that until we start running through the results. I think I know what match was my favorite. I think I'm going to go with Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay, but there were some good ones here and a lot of pleasant surprises, fun debut, solid main event, and a really good lead-in to this Wednesday's Blood and Guts. AEW is not playing any games. They're going to jump right back into the fire in 3 days for Blood and Guts and a really gnarly double cage match that's going to see a lot of the top stars and pretty much closed out Forbidden Door tonight. So I want to get input from you guys as we roll through here. I immensely enjoyed the show. I think tonight was a big, experiment to see if this is something that can be done. The ratings have kind of taken a hit as to the lead-in to Forbidden Door, implying that maybe the casual audience doesn't care so much about working with a promotion who, has a lot of wrestlers who the fans don't recognize. That's certainly understandable. But in terms of the big names that are in New Japan, I still think for wrestling fans in general, there's big enough names there to make some sort of co-promoted event really, really strong and really, really popular. And I believed that even though Tony Khan has said he doesn't know if they're going to do a Forbidden Door 2, I feel like if this show is well received, and I think overall it probably will be, and if the buy rate is decent enough, they had their second biggest gate tonight, I believe, in attendance. The United Center was packed and jacked for this show. So at the end of this thing, if it's viewed as a success, how can you not do a part 2 and think about how good part 2 will be next year when you hopefully don't have this many injuries to contend with and you've got a healthy Kenny Omega, you got a healthy CM Punk, you got a healthy Danielson, and a lot of other guys that were yanked from this show or were affected injury-wise. Think about how great this could be if they did it again with both rosters healthy. And, this could have been, remember how like an ECW one night stand, we can all agree the first one was the best and the second one was just kind of so-so. This will be reversed. I think the second one, the second Forbidden Door, is likely to be even better than this one if they so choose to do a part 2. But we'll have to see, what kind of buy rate I suppose this gets. They certainly had no trouble selling tickets for this thing, and the fans knew exactly who everybody was. They were singing along from everybody's theme to Minoru Suzuki to Okada's. So this crowd was jacked for it. They were really excited for most of the show, and props to AEW for somehow managing to get this show done within 4 hours. Now, there was likely an early finish to the four-way, which we'll talk about later with Adam Cole, who appeared to have suffered an injury. Even with that match ending early, they were still done in 3 hours and 45 minutes. So they basically had a 4-hour time limit for this thing. Not only did they get all of these matches done, all 12 of them within that time. I mean, 3 were on the buy-in, all 9 of them, I should say. But it didn't feel rushed at all. It didn't feel like they were pushing shit at you, giving matches a short amount of time, anything like that. It flowed well, and it didn't seem like, number one, like the show was going too fast, or number two, I was getting burnt out. Now, granted, I'm on the West Coast. For you guys, if you're on the East Coast, it's 12:08. It's after midnight right now. For me, it's 9 o'clock. So it's really not a big deal for me when these shows go 4 or 5 hours, but I think it's good for AEW that this show didn't run too long. And I think it was the perfect runtime. It really was. There were some issues. We had a couple of matches that, were a little bit, maybe the underwhelming finishes, one due to Adam Cole. And even in the main event, maybe that one caught a lot of folks off guard as well. But overall, in terms of being a professional wrestling fan, like I've been preaching the last couple of weeks, if you're a fan of pro wrestling, I don't know how the fuck you could not sit down and watch the show and not enjoy it, So if you slap down your $50, I'm sure you got your money's worth. I definitely did. We'll talk about the good and the bad here. You guys are welcome to offer your criticisms of the show, what you did not like, what would you have done differently if you were booking a show like this. And, I was also curious to the cooperation. Obviously, this is going to benefit probably New Japan the most. I think they need a shot in the arm more than AEW currently, so this is really mostly to benefit them. But when you think about a co-promotion of two companies, and how that's going to exactly work, back in the 80s, it was hard to get any cooperation done when they attempted to do shit like this. So I'm curious in terms of when you're booking this out to make sure everybody, gets a fair amount of wins. You guys are going to help me with the record here because I did not write down who won more matches between the two in the interim promotional matches, but there were some where you had AEW New Japan guys teaming up. So I don't even know how you gauge, who won this Forbidden Door, because I don't think it was really a contest. But overall, I think the cooperation with the matches, everything went well. The wrestlers, all these guys just respect the hell out of each other, work really well together, and the matches and the talent all came through. It's just a matter of how this is going to be received by the general public and how many people really get to stick up their ass that badly about a North American wrestling company working with someone else. Seems to bother a lot of people. It doesn't bother me, but we'll see what the fallout is from this. And like I said, they're diving right into Blood and Guts on Wednesday, and that's going to be crazy. So there's my initial hit you in the face with that. I want to welcome you guys to the Forbidden Door 2022 review. Been looking forward to this pay-per-view for quite a while, and like I said, despite the injuries, I thought the show was still real good. I want to cruise over here to the chat real quick, say hi to you guys, and let you know what's going to be on tap here for this week. Good to see Rodrigo and Victor and Divine, JJ, Deshaun's in the house, K-Dog's Kennel, Michael Cuomo, Victor Cologne, right on, Monkey Wrench Party is here, Vape Lord, FRGN, Randall. Good to see everyone here. Please do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button for me, and please offer me your opinions on the show and your grades. Is the chat slow, or is there just really not that many people in here? Anywho, let me know what you thought. There's some A's, there's some 10s. I don't even know if I'd give it a 10 or an A, to be honest. I think I might go B+ on this. I don't think I'm going to go as low as a C like Scott has, but I don't think I could totally give it an A. I want to, but, at the same time, trying to be as fair as possible, It was a good pay-per-view either way, and I certainly didn't mind spending $50 on that. Let me straighten out my microphone. My mic is always crooked. I don't know why. But anyway, let's talk about what's going on this week. So I've been busy last night getting the channel ready for everything you're going to see this upcoming week. This is the first of 5 videos that you're going to get from me this week that ends this coming Saturday, and that will be my final video for about 8 or 9 days because I leave for Hawaii and I'm going to be there for a week. So every single video I have planned for the week is already scheduled and up on YouTube right now. Every link of the next 4 videos are in the description below. So if you scroll down there, you will find tomorrow's link to our WWE Raw review. We're going to talk about John Cena's return to celebrate his 20 years in the company. Most likely, he's going to kick off some sort of an angle or a program with somebody for SummerSlam, at least hopefully. So we will be up here to talk about that. Then on Wednesday, for Blood and Guts, we're going to be up here watching that together, as we always do. We missed last week's Dynamite because I had to be at work, but we're back this week, and we will be watching Blood and Guts together. That's going to be fun. That link is also down there. Then on Friday, we're going to come up here at 3 in the afternoon on the West Coast, 6 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and predict WWE Money in the Bank on Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Then, of course, on Saturday night, Money in the Bank review, full show review after the pay-per-view goes off the air. We'll be up here to talk about it. And then after that, I'll be working the next day on July 3rd. Then it's July 4th, Monday, but I'm not going to be doing a Raw review on the 4th of July. And then the very next morning, I leave to go on vacation for a week. So I'm going to be gone. But at least everything I do up until that point is already scheduled on the channel. It's there. You can either go to the channel, find these videos, save them, like them, and get yourself ready for this week, or you can do that down in the description below. Just wanted to let you know that you get me 5 more times before a relatively sizable vacation break. So there you go. Follow me on Twitter, @GoodMicWork. Subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button and do a dance of joy. And that's all I really ask out of you guys. Other than that, we can start scrolling into this pay-per-view. 9 out of 10, A-, B, A-. Okay. A couple of A-minuses and a B. What's going on, Ahmed? Good to see you. And everybody else that's saying hello. I'm happy that everybody enjoyed it. Those of you who watched it and were giving it a 10 out of 10, that's what wrestling's all about. We're supposed to watch a wrestling show and enjoy it. And it's okay if you don't know everybody. It's okay if you're not as familiar with somebody. I haven't seen a ton of Jay White matches, maybe 15. You know, it's okay to not know somebody very well and watch them and get to know them better. That's what pro wrestling is about, right? So I thought for a show like this, it was fun, you know, and it's not something they do all the time, obviously. They're going to kind of go back to their own thing here this summer, I would assume, and into All Out. And they also announced, although I did not catch the date, I saw the very tail end of the preview for it, but they did announce their return to Arthur Ashe Stadium for Grand Slam. They had a date on that. I just didn't catch it. You guys can probably let me know. And I believe All Out is scheduled for September 4th, which I believe is the day after Castlevania or whatever the fuck WWE's doing with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. What is it? Castlevania. Let's call it Castlevania. So it's like a day after Castlevania. And that's going to be a busy weekend of wrestling. I guess that'll probably be the Labor Day weekend, which is just a couple days before my birthday. So you're going to see me a lot that weekend talking AEW and WWE. Should be a fun summer. But we'll start rolling here into the September 21st. Thank you, Garrett, for that. Into the results. Appreciate that. That's going to be the Arthur Ashe show, September 21st. That feels awfully close to where it was last year. What was it last year? What was the date on it? I feel like last year was September 21st as well, but that doesn't generally land on a Wednesday 2 years in a row. Clash at the Castle. Oh, man, I like Castlevania better. Let's call it, it's Castlevania now. That's what it is now. I've made the decision, the executive decision. All right. Well, let me scroll to the top of these notes here, and we can start getting into this pay-per-view. I'm going to do my best. Now, one thing I noticed really early on the main card was that it was going to be impossible for me to enjoy this pay-per-view that I paid $50 for if I have to type out every single fucking destroyer and Spanish fly and every goddamn spot. These matches were insane. We had the crazy opener, which was a really good way to set the tone on the show. So I was mostly enjoying the pay-per-view, writing down the winners and the losers and a couple of tidbits and some major stuff. But if you're here to hear me talk about every arm drag, you are in the wrong place. I had my feet up. I was chilling. I was just enjoying the wrestling tonight. So we are going to talk about it from that context, just to let you know. But the commentary team was really fun tonight. They started the show with Excalibur, Taz, and Kevin Kelly. Now, Kevin Kelly had already announced that he was going to be a part of Forbidden Door. I love that. It's good to hear his voice. It's good to see him, calling wrestling in an American promotion, and they would have some guest spots throughout the show, including Shivani sitting in, and then Jim Ross would come in, I think, for the final two matches. So having Kelly work a good portion of this pay-per-view instead of Jim Ross, I think, was the right call. Kevin Kelly is much more familiar with these stars. Not that Excalibur doesn't do a good job, but he's one of New Japan's own commentators who can really fill you in on the stories. And him combined with Excalibur, I thought they made a nice little 1-2 punch. And then, of course, you had Taz as the color guy, just being Taz. But they had Shivani come in at one point, and I think like two other people along with Jim Ross throughout the show, but it mostly at first was Excalibur, Taz, and Kevin Kelly. So I really like to see that. And then later on we actually had Kevin Kelly and Jim Ross on commentary together for the first time since, I don't know, in WWF in 1996. They were maybe on commentary together a little bit on Raw, maybe around the time when Jim Ross turned heel in like 96 with a fake Razor and Diesel. That's the last time I can really think that they were might have interacted. And then, of course, Shivani and Kevin Kelly both on the mic together calling a wrestling match. Have we ever seen that before? I don't recall any instance, unless there was some independent promotion that had them both there to call a show or something like that. I don't remember ever seeing Kevin Kelly and Shivani. They were on two separate sides of the Attitude Era. So very cool with some of the commentary combinations tonight, and that was fun. So the buy-in started quite early, 4 p.m. for me. I got this thing pulled up around 11 minutes past the hour, so I missed most of the match, but I did see the finish of Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi defeating QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. I don't even remember who I picked for that one. I kind of think I picked the AEW guys in that one. So I might have got that one wrong. I didn't go back to look at my predictions. Maybe you guys can tell me how I did in my predictions. I think I did okay. In a match that I didn't even know was happening, I don't know when they announced this earlier on in the day. I wasn't paying attention to wrestling news or pre-Forbidden Door stuff. Didn't even know about the Claudio leak. Had no idea. I legitimately watched Claudio debuting without knowing that he was spotted backstage. So that makes me happy. So I don't know when they announced the Lance Archer Nick Comoroto match, but it was a good little match there. Lance Archer won with the blackout. A couple of big Lance Archer style dives, which every time he does one of those, he damn near kills himself and gave me a heart attack. And I think that maybe this match could have been replaced with a women's match. I know that AEW had the one women's match on the main card. It was the only match on the main card that was not some sort of an interpromotional match. Stardom was busy with their own pay-per-view, and of course New Japan doesn't feature any women's matches, so I appreciated AEW making time for the women, but you can't have so many wrestling matches when the people you're co-promoting with don't do any. So I think here with Archer and Comoroto, maybe they could have put in, a Jamie Hayter, against Marina Shafir match, or I don't know, something like that. Just two girls kicking the snot out of each other might have been a good way to, I don't want to use the word shoehorn, but give more time to the women, because what can you really do? Hands are tied there. You can't really do more than one match unless you want to throw something on the buy-in or something. So maybe they could have done that. And then we had Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee defeating El Desperado and Kanemaru. Now, I picked the New Japan guys to win this thing. I actually thought, based on the somewhat teased slight dissension between Swerve and Lee, that would be enough for them to crumble. I didn't really like to pick Keith Lee, somebody like Keith Lee losing on a pre-show. I had a feeling that was not going to come to fruition. I'm glad that it wasn't, because it's not something I would really want to see. Swerve and Lee got the win. Lee hit, it was a great sequence. I think it was Swerve hit some gnarly stomp on the outside of the ring, I believe on El Desperado, and then Lee hit whatever he's calling the Big Bang Catastrophe these days, whatever that's called now. Believe he hit that on Kanemaru for the win. And then after the match, Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs turn up in the skybox. Hobbs gets on the mic, says a few words. Ricky Starks talks some trash as well. And I just love the two of them together. And I love Hobbs' look. He's just got unlimited potential to me. He's kind of found his niche. At first, I felt like even though he was a big guy, when he came in, he was kind of bland. He wasn't doing much for me. But now that he's wearing the airbrushed overalls, and he's not half bad on the mic either, and he's even in a little bit better shape, I think, than when he first came in, he's really starting to stand out, I think, a little bit more. And keep your eye on Hobbs in 2022. We finished up with probably my favorite match on the buy-in. So we had 4 matches on the buy-in. Fucking crazy. This was going to be the Ass Boys and Max Caster, or all of the Ass Boys, all 3 of them, Billy and his boys, along with Max Caster, taking on the LA Dojo, which are, the Young Bucks. And they were already kind of outmatched to begin with, but when the Gun Club is making their way to the ring and Max Caster does his rap, Danhausen appears on the screen, and he says that he's got a special gift for the Ass Boys. Enjoy. And then they start playing the Ass Boys song. Now, I had not heard this before, or at least if I did, I had forgotten it existed. I think it was, he did it way back in January or something, that song for the Ass Boys, and I never really heard it before, but as soon as I heard it, it reminded me of one specific song from the 90s. It reminded me of Everything About You by Ugly Kid Joe. Look it up. Listen to the song and tell me that one riff, that one part with the guitar is not the same beat. But it reminded me of that. But once he played the video and started playing the video, the 2 little Ass Boys got mad and they chased back there looking for Danhausen, leaving Max Caster and Dad to take on all 4 of these fuckers 4-on-2. Which is completely unfair to the LA Dojo. I don't know why Billy Gunn would need any help. Max Caster should have done what he was supposed to do and run with the Ass Boys back to the back to find Danhausen, so Billy can just wipe the mat with all 4 of these guys by himself. But no, Max Caster had to hog the spotlight, and he even got the pin when he hit the mic drop on the poor fellow there for the win. So I have no idea why AEW booked the match like this for these guys to win 2 against 4 when it really should have just been 1 against 4. You didn't need to protect Billy Billy or give him any help. He could have done that all by himself. So anyway, Billy Gunn won with help from Max Caster in that. And then we were on to the main card. Before we dive into that main card, let me say hi to these two super duper duper chats over here. Spectra, appreciate the $5. Hey, Greg, great show tonight. I'm getting too old for these long shows. Long shoes. Struggled to stay awake. Osprey won, so 6 out of 5 show. That's a pretty good grade. You know, Spectra, I was saying at the beginning, I was actually kind of surprised they got this pay-per-view done in a relatively decent amount of time. When you think about how many matches were on the show, we all expected the show to be 5 hours. It was 3 hours and 45 minutes. That's not bad. That's only 1 hour longer than pay-per-views were in the 1990s. They used to run about 2 hours and 45 minutes. But most pay-per-views run around 3 hours these days. This one went 3:45. I don't even think it was that bad. I was expecting, though, for it to be ridiculous. I was at Double or Nothing. That show was long. I didn't give a fuck. I was in the crowd, had great seats, loved every minute. Could have gone another hour. I would have been fine. But for the fans at home, it's a completely different story. So luckily for me, being on the West Coast, it doesn't bother me too much. But even on the East Coast, I would have been happy that this thing got done for me before midnight. But I appreciate you being here. And even though you're tired, you still stopped in and chimed in with $5 and told us about your long shoes. Appreciate that, Spectre, as always. Very happy you're here. Michael Kumo, good to see you as always, dude. Appreciate the $2. I vote for Castlevania, also a classic NES game. Yeah, Castlevania, that's what we're calling the WWE pay-per-view now. We've made the decision. Max Pokebra, 27, 2 more from you. Appreciate that as well. I was at the arena for the show. It rocked. That's awesome. A lot of my followers were at United Center tonight. I was getting a lot of pictures and a lot of tags and stuff, and it looked like it was a blast. And based on the crowd reaction tonight, I think that the Chicago crowd really helped make this show. They were jacked, and they weren't just jacked for part of it. They were jacked for all of it. It felt like they even outdid what I experienced in Vegas. I thought Vegas was a wild crowd, but I think on TV, the Chicago crowd came off much better. They marked out for some serious shit here. They were marking out for everything. The Claudio pop, you know, when he would come out later on, I mean, that's comparable to his Battle Royal victory, body slamming the Big Show over the top rope at WrestleMania. I mean, it's comparable. And the fans were genuinely happy. They were marking out for Minoru Suzuki, marking out for everybody that came out there. And there was never really a dull moment with them. They were really on point. They were the 6th man tonight, and they really helped, maybe they helped pick up the slack, I should say, for the injuries, plaguing this card, changing some stuff up. Some fans, more casual fans, might not be interested in it or weren't thinking they were going to get much out of this show, and the crowd really helped, fill any gaps there of uncertainty if this was going to be a decent crowd or a decent show, because they were in the United Center at the end of the day, and that's always a jacked venue, and it's always a jacked city. So we kick things off with a really stupidly fun opener. We've got Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki taking on Eddie Kingston, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino, who would get a fireball in his face backstage later on, which is really sad. This was probably the perfect match to open with. I thought it would come later on. I thought they would open with something else, but this thing was all over the place, and it really looked like a good showcase and introduction to the American crowd for Shota Umino, who I believe is Red Shoes' son. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And he's a good-looking kid. I like Takeshita a little bit more. We've seen a little bit of him on AEW lately, and he's really been impressive. But I liked everything this kid showed me. I mean, I've only seen a couple clips of him, maybe at best. So 3 or 4 or 5 of these guys tonight was largely my first introduction to them, or a good look at them, I should say. Even if I kind of knew who they were, I might not have really, really seen them work and be able to soak it in. So all of this stuff was really fun here. Now, of course, Sammy Guevara's got Ty Conti with him, and they make their entrances. Match was all over the place. Crowd, like I said, singing Minoru Suzuki's theme. He is all sorts of fun, and he was doing his deal. So basically, it was just a match that was all over the place. Guys were laying in the ring, a lot of carnage. Fans 2 or 3 times throughout the match would stand up while there was just bodies laid there and showed their appreciation, and it was probably one of the best matches you could pick to do an opener here. Judas Effect to Shota Umino for the win. Jericho hits him with that, and the heels win. Now, I picked that one right. I figured Jericho and company would win because I'm expecting them to lose blood and guts. So the winner of this match was already going to get the advantage, the one-man advantage or whatever in blood and guts. So I figured that the heels would get that. They'd get the advantage, but still wind up losing to, Blackpool and company. So fun match, great opener, enjoyed every second of that. And I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. Because I was thinking about what I said on Saturday when I was like, if you're a fan of wrestling, just watch the show. If you got nothing to do, if you're bored, order it. I promise you will like it. And I kind of felt pretty good there with that opener that I'm like, yeah, if anybody's watching the show, you're probably going to enjoy it. It was off to a good start, set the tone for the night, and like I said, the crowd was jacked for all of it. So here's one of our first weird matches. We could have sustained a couple of injuries tonight at Forbidden Door. Not only have we had a shit ton of injuries prior to the pay-per-view, which has caused some match changes, we might have seen two pretty serious ones happen on the pay-per-view, and the first one was here. It was, of course, the IWGP Tag Team title match, champions, Jeff Cobb and the Great Okan, who I am really sick and tired of not being best friends with Great Okan. That needs to change real soon. They are defending against Roppongi Vice and FTR. And FTR I had picked yesterday in the predictions. I felt like already with the AAA tags, the Ring of Honor tags, all the belts they already have, it would be a great photo op to have those guys holding, a grand total of 6 championship belts. But early on in the match, and by the way, as FTR is making their entrance, a big portion of the crowd on the aisle had FTR section signs. Now, they might do that every week, and I just don't pay attention or anything like that, but I don't recall FTR having those FTR section signs like the Cesaro section like we used to see in WWE. So I didn't know if that was a little bit of a hint that we were going to see Cesaro, but like I said, I wasn't on the internet. I was on Twitter, but I just hadn't seen the story of Cesaro or Claudio being spotted backstage. Sounded like everybody pretty much knew that he was going to be there. But to me, I didn't think anything was firmly leaked out yet. So once I saw the FTR section things, I'm like, is that a sign that we're going to see Claudio later on? It turned out to be. But early on in the match, and I didn't even see how he was doing it. I got 3 screens going on here. I'm making notes. I'm looking over there. I got wrestling here. And I did not even see how Dax Harwood injured himself, but it looked like he went down with a shoulder injury and immediately was getting medical attention, and they took him to the back, leaving Cash Wheeler all by himself and leaving him by himself early. So I'm like, well, shit. I didn't really catch what happened, but most people are speculating it might be a real injury. He actually had to leave, unless it's just a storyline to have him come back and have a heroic return. Somebody brought up Owen Hart doing that at Canadian Stampede back in 97, literally just about 25 years ago to the day next month, when that went down and he left and he came back to a big pop. But that was all kayfabe and storyline. So I still don't even know. I've not bothered to check. Maybe you guys have read something or seen an article or somebody's posted something about Dax Harwood, if he is injured or not. But he went down and he left, leaving Cash alone. And that made me immediately think of the finish, because I picked FTR. I felt pretty confident they were going to win here. So I'm like, let's assume that is the case. Let's assume FTR is booked to win. But Dax Harwood clearly has got a bum shoulder, or he dislocated the shoulder. Whatever he did, he ain't going to be back wrestling in a week. He's going to need some time off or something. I mean, I don't know if they can determine it that quickly, but when you get back there and like, oh yeah, my shoulder's done, I thought they were going to have to call an audible, because you don't want to crown a new champion only to immediately strip them of the belt again. You're doing that enough with all these injuries. So I was like, shit, do they call an audible here and, have Cobb and Okan retain, or do they do something else? I have no idea. But the match went on without Dax. I thought it was going to go till the end, and we might see him, but he came out maybe just a couple of minutes later, hobbled back out, and was able to finish the match and actually get the win. I didn't even write down the damn finish here. I was so surprised that he was actually out that quickly. I failed to even write down the finish. You guys can help me. But in the end, Dax Harwood came out. The match was really good, even when it was 2-on-2-on-1 for a short time. And then he returned, was able to finish the match, and FTR were able. I didn't even see who pinned who. I got no information on this. Sorry, guys. There was a million matches on the show. I was very distracted tonight, so I got nothing on this one. All I know is FTR won, and it was awesome to see them win those championships now. And collect these belts. And that means now with them holding the IWGP title, that means they're going to have a match over there. That means they're probably going to defend the titles over there or lose the titles over there, which is also very, very cool. So they have captured yet another set of tag team championships. I think that's pretty cool. And this was the first time they've done the FTR section. So when I saw those signs, I'm like, that's got to be here. I thought I was smart. I'm like, it's got to be Claudio. The whole fucking world apparently knew that Claudio was going to be showing up, except for Greg. Yeah, and I'm with you, Alessia. I actually kind of think 2 hours and 45 minutes is too short for a pay-per-view. I prefer 4-hour shows over 3. What I don't want is 5-hour shows. 4-hour shows, you don't ever have to really feel like you're rushed as long as you don't overload your card, which you can do like tonight when you put 9 matches on it, but everything flowed just fine. As long as you don't do that too much, 4-hour is better because you can get more shit in and it's not, you're not overstaying your welcome. But once you surpass that 4-hour mark or you get to that 4-hour mark, I really do think that's the limit. That's why I'm glad WrestleMania went to 2 nights, because it's hard to even get WrestleMania done in 4 hours with all the bullshit they do, the fucking promos and the commercials and the patting themselves on the back and the make-a-wishes and the backstage interviews and the ridiculous promo spots and video packages recapping weeks of shit we already saw 15 times. That's half the pay-per-view right there. So I think when you add all that stuff, separating it out was good. But yeah, I'm fine with the 4-hour deal as well. And if you're on the East Coast, if these pay-per-views begin at 8, they are over at midnight. If you're a night owl, this will not bother you. But if you're somebody that has to wake up at 7 a.m. on a Monday, it might be a little tough, especially if you want to stay up late and watch my bald ass on YouTube. So it just depends. But I don't have any issue with the 4-hour shows either. All right, what was next? Oh, yeah, I have never been more pleasantly surprised with an outcome of a match in my life. I don't know what the hell I was thinking the other night, not even considering that Pac could win this match. But next up, we were crowning the inaugural All-Atlantic Champion, and this was a 4-way between Miro, Pac, Malachi Black, and Clark Connors, who has stepped in to fill in for Tomohiro Ishii, who got pulled out due to an injury as well. So this is a great opportunity for him, and he was really, really showcased well, bumping his balls off. But my focus was really on the other guys, and my thought was that Pac and Black, because of their history and their ongoing thing, that maybe they would cancel each other out, and it would just be down to Miro and Connors, and he would put him down with his game over or his kick or whatever and win the title. That's kind of what I thought the finish was going to be, but we didn't get that. We got a really fun match. Miro at one point went through a table. They were brawling all over the place. Like I said, Clark Connors was really impressive. I've only seen him wrestle one time before this, so I really liked seeing him in there. And it did look like Miro was in a position to win this championship. He was my pick. He was my guy. I love Miro. I really want to see him get a solid push in the company, and he was easily my favorite TNT champion they've ever had. So Miro is my guy, but I ain't shed any tears for the outcome that we got here, and it looked like it was going to be curtains for poor Pac. Miro's got him locked in the game over. He won't tap out. He's actually trying to get to the ropes, but Miro pulls him back, and that's when Malachi Black comes in and just spits the black mist right in Miro's face. He powders out, and we get a black arrow a mist to Miro. And then did Miro stay in there or did he roll out? I think he rolled out. Black and Connors were messing around on the ring, and that's when I believe Pac hit the black arrow onto Malachi. I think that's what it was. Oh, no, and I think he hit it to Malachi, and then Miro powdered out, whatever it was. He hooked Connors in a submission. See what I mean about trying to write down every goddamn spot? These matches, there was so much going on. I just know that there was the mist, there was the black arrow onto Black, and then he hooked in Connors in the submission and basically just took out both of them after Black did the work to Miro there. So Pac tapping out Connors for the win, becoming the inaugural All-Atlantic Champion, I thought was a great surprise. I was very happy to have that one wrong. I think this is a well-deserved win for Pac, a well-deserved accolade for Pac to be the first guy to hold this belt, considering when he came in, some of the matches he's had there, he's always been a reliable fucking stud in the ring. And he was a guy that did maybe suffer from being somebody that was going to be highly touted at first, a big part of building their athletic roster. But with each bigger free agent signing, it felt like Pac sometimes became more and more forgettable, and he really shouldn't be. You talk about somebody who's just consistent in everything he does, that's Pac. So I couldn't be happier with the outcome there. I was like, man, I'm really happy to get that one wrong. I really am. So he is your new and first All-Atlantic champion, and we'll see what kind of a title belt that's going to be, how often it's going to be defended, how often it's going to change hands, because I feel like the TNT title has changed hands way more times than I thought it should. It does feel like a title that is intended to kind of be bounced around relatively frequently. Maybe some of that calms down now, and the TNT champion holds the belt for a little bit longer, and we do the hot potato thing with the All-Atlantic. I don't know, but Pac being the first guy to hold this thing, no problem whatsoever. And no issue from Greg with that outcome. That was good stuff. Next up, we had the Bullet Club versus the Dudes with Attitudes. Now, this is a match that I think was changed 2 or 3 times. Originally an 8-man tag. Now it's going to be a 6. It's going to be the Bucks and El Fantasma taking on Sting, Darby Allin, and Shingo Takagi. Now, they make their entrances here. The last guy to come out is Sting. His music plays, and he's not coming out. And so I'm immediately thinking that he's been attacked backstage, and Johnny Gargano is going to come take his place. Johnny Gargano tweeted out today, I did see him on Twitter tweeting from Chicago that he was leaving Chicago, getting on a flight back to Orlando. And I was like, well, he could be totally telling the truth there, because I do think that is his thing, to not lie and have people think that he is lying. Or, you know, he's doing the typical shit that most people do when they're debuting, and they try to pretend like they're off doing something else. So I thought maybe that Johnny Gargano, this would be a good place to bring him in too. I'm like, oh yeah, like if you're looking for a place to debut him, have him team up with Darby Allin, you know, and that will be his introduction, and he can have, you know, they can have a great match together. Gargano in the ring with the Bucks, holy shit, give me some of that. But false alarm, no reason to be alarmed. Sting was fine. They cut to the rafters, where I guess they had a Sting lookalike up there, but it scared me because they are shining the spotlight up to the rafters, and you see a Sting-like figure up there, but he's also supposed to be in this match. And I'm like, how is he going to get down? How is he going to get down? Please, please, please tell me that he's not going to propel from the ceiling down to the ring. I actually thought they were going to do that for a second, because I'm like, how is he going to get down here? But then I remembered you can have 10,000 Stings, and it's like it's nothing. So just a fake Sting up there. Sting actually appears on top of the tunnel, and instead of us worried something was wrong with Sting, nothing was wrong with Sting. He's just batshit insane as always. And this 60-year-old fucker dives off of the entrance tunnel onto the heels. He came very close to botching that, but they caught him, and Sting was just off and running. And just watching him in there, watching the crowd pop for him, 25 years after he stood in that very arena in the middle of the ring in the United Center and held a bat to Macho Man Randy Savage's face on Nitro. Great moment in the United Center, 25 and a half years ago now. And to see a Chicago United Center crowd popping for Sting to the level that they were is why wrestling is so damn fun. This crowd made things so fun. They looked like they were having the time of their goddamn lives, and it was great. And Sting, to me, was the star of the show, because later on, after he's diving off the tunnel and he's doing all this other stuff, he eats a crazy double super kick from the Bucks, and he just absorbs it and just completely no-sells it, which was great. I love the tightrope moonsault by Phantasmo. That's a crazy fucking move. Later on, we get another triple super kick to Sting. He had already avoided a BTE trigger earlier on. And the finish saw Shingo pinning Phantasmo for the win there. So the Dudes with Attitudes got the win. New Japan guy got the pin. And it was a pretty fun match, and it's never not fun to watch Sting do his thing. I don't know how he's managing to wrestle like kind of on this level, even though he's still doing crazy things. He's still somewhat protected, but the fact that he's able to do anything at all is pretty damn incredible. And I think AEW uses him to a correct degree. They're not overexposing him. They're not putting him in the ring every week, but when he does want to wrestle and give the fans a thrill, he does. He lays it all out there, and it's going to be fun to think of all these different chapters of Sting's career. I thought the TNA stuff, the Joker Sting, was going to be the crowning jewel, the cherry on top of Sting's career, because he was already way over the hill by that point, in my mind anyway. And I just thought he was just, still out there doing stuff. And the fact that we're 10, 12, 13 years past that, he's already been in WWE to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, left WWE, now in AEW. And every time he has a match, he does something crazy. And, man, Sting and Ric Flair, you talk about two dudes with attitudes. It's those two crazy fuckers. Let me say thank you to Spectra, chiming in with a very generous $19.99. Thank you for that, dude. Wrote my last super check. I don't take checks. Wrote my last super chat at a red light on my drive home. Dude, be careful. From my dad's. My dad's a casual fan, but he loved Claudio coming in. He was always a Cesaro fan. Don't think Kingston or Suzuki know wrestling scripted how no one die. Yeah, right? I know. I don't think they do either, and that's kind of what makes them great, is the fact that they just go out there and do whatever the fuck, and as long as you can kind of contain them. Watching Kingston just completely lose his mind is one of the greatest things a wrestling fan can experience. But, dude, enough with the super chats in the car. Eyes on the road, 10 and 2. Nothing else, or you're blocked. Watch the road. He teleported from the rafters. I'm sorry, fake Sting. Greg, you're an idiot. Sorry, I forgot that AEW got that teleporting machine donated to them from Teleporters R Us. All right, I catch up all that. All right, we're good there. What match did we have next? After that, we did have that announcement for the return to Arthur Ashe Stadium for AEW Grand Slam. That date, according to you guys, will be September 21st. I missed the date on that. I saw the advertisement but missed the date, so I didn't have it written down. The 21st looks to be the date for that, so that'll be really fun. They sold that thing out last time. Then we go backstage. We have the Jericho Appreciation Society shooting a fireball in poor Shota Umino's face. So they've been liking the fireballs. I got to give Jericho props for bringing back the wrestling fireball. They are very difficult to pull off, and to do it and use it several times successfully, that ain't easy, and that takes skill and balls. So good job there. After that, we had the AEW Women's title on the line. Thunder Rosa defending against Toni Storm. I love Toni Storm a lot. I believe she should be AEW champion one day. I just didn't believe it should be here. I think this is just a showcase for the women. Put a good, solid women's contest on the show for a championship and give Thunder Rosa a good, solid win over a credible and a quality opponent in Toni Storm. Good match, and Thunder Rosa won with the final reckoning. We even got the little show respect handshake at the end. I loved everything about this match. It felt like it went under 10 minutes, but it was still good, and a good win for Thunder Rosa. If they would have done something crazy, like tried to change the title here, it would have been an odd place to do it. Very odd placement to change your women's champion in the middle of a pay-per-view that, is featured mostly around another company. Just would have been a weird stage to do it, and figured we would just get a match here, and that's exactly what we got. So Thunder Rosa retains the AEW Women's title, and she will keep rolling, and I'm sure we will see, or at least hopefully hear from her on Wednesday. Next up is the match that I think is probably my favorite match of the night in terms of in the ring and what we got, and it was the match that I predicted would be my favorite. Now, it doesn't mean I think this was the best match on the card. I just think this is the one that I enjoyed the best in the ring, and that was, of course, Will Ospreay defending his IWGP United States title against Orange Cassidy. Now, earlier on, I believe, we had an interview with Juice Robinson and Tony Schiavone, I believe. And how cool is it to see Juice Robinson and Tony Storm working the same show or being on the same show? I think it was Kevin Kelly ran through the entire story of why Juice Robinson has the physical United States title, how he's got that in his possession. He was bragging about that with Tony Schiavone, and he would be sitting up in one of the skyboxes holding the championship that is being defended in the ring. Now, I never expected Orange Cassidy to win the United States title anyway, because that would be really weird for you to crown a new champion, but somebody else has got the belt, and that whole situation with Will Ospreay is probably just going to continue anyway. So much like the Thunder Rosa match, I just thought this was a good match for Will Ospreay to have that would be number one good and would give him a solid win against a quality opponent and would give the wrestling fans in the arena and at home a quality match. And that's pretty much exactly what it was. I was expecting this match to be the best on the card, and I argue that it probably was. Now, In the ring, like I said, Cassidy is not just a comedy wrestler. He does the hands in the pockets thing, trying to tell the story here with Jim Ross, I think, might have sat on this. Maybe it was Kevin Kelly. But basically about how that's an insult to Will Ospreay to be doing that and wrestling and keeping him on his toes while having your hands in your pockets. But as Orange Cassidy usually does and always does, the hands usually come out at some point and he starts to get serious. So there was a lot of fun stuff earlier on. Even Will Ospreay, at one point, he's got Orange Cassidy down and he reaches his hand into Ospreay or into Cassidy's pocket and pulls out a middle finger, which I thought was fun. Shit was going on all over the place out here. We had Aussie open on the outside of the ring. Cassidy does a big dive over the top rope, takes out Fletcher and Davis. Big near fall midway through the match to Ospreay after just a crazy DDT that saw Will Ospreay's head literally stick right in the mat. Excuse me. Again, I loved the double moonsault miss by Will Ospreay. So I think he went for, this is why it's so hard to write down spots. I think he went for a top rope moonsault first, and then immediately flipped into another moonsault, which Cassidy rolled out of both. And then he went into a running shooting star press from the mat that did land on Cassidy. Cassidy kicks out of two Ospreay cutters or Os cutters or whatever the hell he calls them. And also Ospreay hits Cassidy with a Stormbreaker into a ridiculously close near fall. So that whole sequence there, I was just typing and I can't keep up. I just literally threw my keyboard up in the air. I'm like, forget it. I'm just going to watch the rest of this match. It was nuts. Now, Cassidy, he would wind up kicking out of a couple of near falls there after some headshots or whatever. But in the end, another Stormbreaker would do him in, and Will Ospreay would get the win, retain the title. Fun match. Liked it. What else can you say? I think my favorite part about this match was how close they can get these near falls, because near falls a lot of times will really make the match, especially at the end. But to be able to time it and get it so close to where if you can fool me more than twice in a match, then I'm always going to, in my mind, consider that match to be great, because it's going to have me legitimately surprised and legitimately on the edge of my seat. And there were, definitely more than 2 points in this match that the near fall was so close I thought it was over. So I like that stuff. It's always a fun ride. Matches like this are always nuts, and this one was no different. And it had the outcome that we all thought. Will Ospreay got the win. Him and his boys, after the match, continued the attack on Orange Cassidy. I thought we might get a debut there as well, but we did not. They cut to the graphic for Zack Sabre Jr. and the mystery opponent next. I'm surprised we didn't see Bryan Danielson on the show. I thought he might be the one to come out and actually introduce Claudio, but I guess he's injured. He shouldn't have to make the trip if he's not going to work, and he should be resting up healing. So Zack Sabre Jr. comes out. I like how he likes to call everybody a dickhead. That's Richard Noggin to you, Zack Sabre Jr. Call me dickhead. Show some respect. But he comes out, and what I liked about this is that AEW didn't waste any time. I was like, okay, we are going to get this mystery opponent. Like I said, most of the internet already knew it was going to be Claudio. AEW knew that the internet knew it was going to be Claudio. Why jerk us around? And I even said yesterday on the predictions that with everything we've been hearing about Claudio, he's been working out in the ring. He has not debuted on SmackDown like some people thought he might, being a part of Rene Dupree's boy toy band of male escorts or whatever the fuck's going on there. A lot of people thought that he might be a part of that. We haven't seen him turn up. We haven't seen him re-sign. The history he already has with Bryan Danielson, his history with Ring of Honor, all signs were pointing to Claudio. And I said yesterday, if it's anybody other than Claudio, it's going to be a disappointment. Like, that's who it has to be. It can't be some, so-so person or somebody that's already in the company. I don't want AEW to put themselves in a position of getting the fans all hyped up for nobody. But Danielson really, to me, he was solidifying that by saying that this person is going to join the Blackpool Combat Club. He's the only person that Danielson trusts. And when you think about the, free agents currently out there, all signs were pointing to Claudio. It was just a matter of what they were going to call him. Some people thought they might change his name up or maybe just call him Claudio. Who knows? But we were about to find out. So Zach makes his entrance, and then it's time for his opponent. His music hits, the Swiss sign comes up there, the crowd loses it. What a pop. I've seen 2 different replays from fan footage of the pop, and it sounded so fun, so amazing. Fans knew right away who it was. He was using his old Ring of Honor music. It's the same music that plays at the end of Caddyshack. It's some sort of orchestra shit. So I like that they brought that back, and he's going to be known as Claudio Castagnoli, which is his name, which is what he was before WWE. Fans loved it, hearing him being introduced as that name. Crowd going nuts. He makes his entrance. He poses with the cameraman that everybody thought was him. How funny was that? Because that was the big rumors that Cesaro has actually been, or Claudio has actually been on AEW TV for weeks, dressed up as a cameraman, and he's finally going to reveal himself at this point, at some point. And for him to stop and pose with him was great. It warmed my heart to see that. It was just the coolest thing, because we've all been wanting him to turn up there, get that big ovation from a sold-out crowd, and that's what he got, and it was fucking awesome. So he was officially there. He's officially a member of the Blackpool Combat Club. He kind of had some different-looking gear, which looked really good. He looked to be in good shape. He didn't waste any time. As soon as he got in the ring, he immediately went after Zack Sabre Jr. and immediately hit him with the neutralizer, went for the neutralizer or something. So he was on the attack right from the word go, and a pretty damn good match. And, of course, Zack Sabre Jr., touting his technical prowess. It was a very, very good match. He did a good job of attacking Claudio's arm, which affected him when he attempted the swing later on, but he was able to get a little bit of a swing done, and the crowd could start counting. But in the end, after a pretty good 11, 12-minute match, whatever it was, he hits the Ricola for the win, and Claudio is 1-0 in AEW, and he is now All Elite. He is a member of the Blackpool Combat Club. He will be in Blood and Guts replacing Danielson, and we would see him again come out later on in the main event. You know what I forgot to mention now that I think about it, and I'm going to get back to this thought here as soon as we wrap up Claudio, but I think it's great that he is now here, and he's kind of where he should be at this point. Regal, Mox, Danielson, that whole crew, seeing him there interact with those guys and Wheeler Yuta, I think sets up all kinds of future storylines, possible opponents with him down the road. I even thought tonight, maybe in the main event, he might come out and join Jericho Appreciation Society. I actually pitched that idea weeks back, saying, if they brought in Claudio, he should do where did he just come from? He just spent 12 years in the sports entertainment company. He should come out and join the Blackpool Combat Club to, fend off JAS. And then when he gets close to Jericho, he turns around and he reveals that he's aligned with the Appreciation Society. And then they all jump on the Blackpool Club. So maybe they could still do something like that in the future. But I kind of thought if Claudio came in, they might want to do something like that with him and just make him a fucking heel or something. But now that he's there, they can do a lot of callbacks to his Ring of Honor days, not only with his music, but when Ring of Honor runs shows and the appearances he could potentially make there and all the other things he can do in AEW. It's just going to be fun to see him there. Now, you got to remember, too, there's not a lot of TV time to go around here. So, much like with guys like Keith Lee, I do see the potential for people to say, boy, when Claudio came in, he hasn't been doing much or whatever. But, you just got to give it time. I think being a part of the Blackpool Combat Club will help him. He will get kind of automatic TV time just being associated with those guys. And honestly, it's really the right role for him because he's a tough son of a bitch, man. And he belongs in that. And he belongs in that group. So I think him turning up there was really fun, really awesome, and I am thrilled to see him. Now, cue all the folks that are going to immediately try to downplay this. Oh, he was not that big a deal. Fans think he's the greatest. He was never that great. WWE cut him, or all they do is sign ex-WWE guys. I can't keep track of what the complaints are these days. The same people that say that they only sign ex-WWE guys, then turn around 5 seconds later and say, who's that, when a non-WWE guy turns up. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Did I completely forget to mention Shibata? When did he come out? I might have missed that. That's what I forgot to mention somewhere else. I went nuts for it, and why can't I remember where the hell he came out? He came out somewhere. Did he come out at the end of the Dudes with Attitudes match? When did Shibata come out? Why don't I have him anywhere in my notes? Jesus, Greg. Get your act together. While you guys tell me that, let me cruise over here to the chat and knock out Chris B. Thank you very much, dude, for that $4.99. There was a fight that broke out during the main event. Wrestling fans are wild. Yeah, I saw the crowd was distracted. I immediately asked people on Twitter, and they all said that some guy was making a ruckus. Now, Denise Salcedo caught a video of this. It happened right next to her, and she has a video of the whole thing of the security throwing the guy out and all that stuff. But yeah, those of you who've been to shows before, I'm sure have seen some dust-ups and some scuffles and some people acting crazy, whether it's a fight or whether they're just acting like a jerk-off and security has to throw them out, whether they throw something at the ring or they're drunk or they show their cock to everybody. I don't know. You guys have likely seen some pretty interesting things. Hell, I was at Survivor Series a few years ago when Enzo was hanging out in the crowd and got pulled out of there by security at Staples Center. So crazy shit happens at wrestling shows. Thank you. He came out at the end of Cassidy and Will Ospreay. That's right, because I knew when I had the Ospreay and the boys continued the attack here on Orange Cassidy, and then I stopped writing, and I think it's because I was writing Shibata on fucking Twitter. So yeah, he came out to help Orange Cassidy. That's what it was. And there were a few rumblings that maybe he could make an appearance here. Of course, for those who don't know, Shibata is the wrestler, I believe it was 2017. I know it was a match with Okada. And of course, he's a big proponent of using the headbutt. And he hit Okada with one of the sickest and grossest. And to this day, it's a video I still will not go back and watch. I watched it one time and it literally made me nauseous. And he hits him with the hardest headbutt. And you can hear this thud. And it was just his skull caving in. And he was really never supposed to wrestle again. He suffered a hematoma or whatever the fuck, some serious brain injury there by caving his skull in with the headbutt. You could see the blood kind of trickling down his head. He was in rough shape. I believe he collapsed backstage after that, and it took him about 4 years to actually get back in the ring. I believe he came back in last year and wrestled. He did an exhibition first and then wrestled full-time. I don't know how many matches he's up to now, but just the fact that he's capable of doing anything physical after something like that at all is pretty incredible, and it's a really, really good feel-good story. And for him to show up and help out Orange Cassidy, the fans loved it. It touched my heart. He put the glasses on. Very cool moment. Very awesome. Sorry for omitting to talk about that here just a little while ago. My notes just kind of cut off. I was really half-assing this. I was just in a kick back and hang out and watch wrestling mood. I'm like, I got to write down the results, but I'm not going to write down fucking everything. And that was kind of my vibe and my design tonight. So I apologize for almost forgetting about Shibata coming out because that was fucking great. After that, we've got the four-way for the IWGP Heavyweight title. We've got Jay White defending against Adam Cole, Hangman Adam Page, and Kazuchika Okada, who turned up last week on Dynamite, and the fans lost their shit there. I think Okada got the pop of the night almost. I mean, man, that was a loud one for him. It popped. The pop that Okada got when his entrance hit felt like a pop he would get like in a debut, or a pop that he might have gotten on Wednesday. I think it was like overfill or overflow from that. The Chicago crowd really wanted to shit their pants when Okada came out, and they did. Now, Kevin Kelly brings up a good point here too, that or maybe it was Excalibur. It might have been Excalibur by this point because JR was on commentary. But the IWGP title is not often defended in multi-man matches like this. It's very rare. So this is already kind of weird. This has already got a fatal four-way WWE vibe to it that guys like Okada and even Jay White are probably not that super accustomed to. If anybody's got the advantage here, it's Adam Cole, who's done a shit ton of these things in NXT, and he's even been in a Survivor Series and stuff. So he knows what's going on here. And I thought the match flowed really well, considering you got guys that normally, number one, don't work together. Number two, don't work in these type of matches together. I don't know what the fuck kind of language barrier vibe might be happening here either. And this was really fun, all kinds of fun. I especially liked the Forbidden Door graphics. And they had like the LED screen ramp, which is cool. And at one point, Hangman Page got suplexed on a rainbow. It was pretty. I liked it. Laid there on the rainbow for a couple of seconds selling it. I didn't know getting suplexed on a rainbow would hurt you that bad. I love the super kick. Like I said, I didn't write down every spot, just some of the spots that I really liked. The super kick that Cole caught Page with off the moonsault was one of the best ever. Now, when I first saw it, I legitimately thought that Cole stiffed him, caught him right in the mush, and has probably knocked out all the guy's teeth. But when they showed a replay of Page doing the moonsault, and Cole has hit this super kick on lots of guys, especially in NXT. I remember the one he did on similar to Ricochet. I think they were battling for like the North American title, and Ricochet did like a springboard moonsault, and Cole caught him right in the face while he was upside down with the super kick. The same thing happened here, but this time it's off the top rope, and Page is coming off with a moonsault. But when you watch the replay and you see Cole's boot coming towards Page's face, keep in mind Page is upside down. He does the subtlest, like it's just such a professional move. He knew exactly what he was doing. And as soon as, and this is all happening so fast, but in slow motion, you see the foot coming at Page's upside down face, and he still knows enough while he's trying to control himself through the moonsault to just turn his head ever so slightly, and he ate it right on the side of the neck, like where you're supposed to, instead of right square in the nose, like it looked like in real time. And I just thought that was a really, really good spot, my favorite. In the end, though, we had a little bit of a problem. There was clearly, and like I said, there's probably some sort of news already on the internet about this. We came straight up after the pay-per-view, so I've had no chance to really look into this. But there did appear to be some sort of an injury to Adam Cole. Now, Jay White, I think we get a Rainmaker to Cole, and he goes down. And I'm trying to remember where exactly he got his bell rung. I couldn't tell. Cole just gets hurt is all it is. And I can't remember even who the fuck hits the Rainmaker. I know Okada hits that on somebody, but then Okada gets disposed of. And in the end, you've got Adam Cole kind of laying near the ropes. Okada is out. Jay White's in there all by himself, and he looks at Adam Cole, and he rolls him away from the ropes and pins him. But as the referee's hand's coming down for 3, you see Cole trying to kind of kick out, but he doesn't all the way. Ref's hand comes all the way down for 3, and that was it. That was the finish. The match was over. It felt flat. Jim Ross immediately said it was an underwhelming finish, and I was like, oh, man, Cole hasn't really moved much. And there was a doctor in the ring immediately after the finish that was laying there, and, of course, because Jay White pinned his buddy Adam Cole, he retains the title, starts leaving. The Bucks come out, and they're kind of, looking at Jay White like, what the fuck? He keeps walking. And they might have been coming out to do some sort of a segment there, but maybe Adam Cole couldn't do it. So it felt like I kind of rewound a little bit and tried to see if I could pick out where he got hurt or whatever, but he collapsed at one point and kind of could. Maybe that's what it was. I think Okada was maybe going for the Rainmaker on Cole, but Cole collapsed. I think that's what it was. He collapsed and couldn't even take the Rainmaker. That's when Jay White disposed of Okada and then rolled over to Adam Cole and got the 3 count. So that might have been the finish. Maybe Cole was supposed to eat the Rainmaker and he didn't, and the finish was still supposed to go the same way, but it felt off. It felt rushed. Something felt flat there. And I think most likely whatever the hell happened to Adam Cole and whatever got injured on him, because he did kind of collapse and buckle, could have been his knee, could have been his head. He wasn't all there. And I think that definitely affected the finish in some way. So it'll be interesting to hear the story on this tomorrow. I'm sure some of the websites will have a story on this, or I'm sure Meltzer or Sean or somebody will provide an update on what the hell exactly happened there. But I'm curious. And also, best to Adam Cole, probably one of the most likable dudes in the whole goddamn business. You hate to see anything bad happen to him. So whatever happened to him, we hope he's okay. Hope he's not injured permanently or seriously. There was even talk that he was kind of banged up going into this thing. So this could have been something where he just got his bell rung. Maybe he just hit his head or something, and that's not good. He could have gotten a concussion and might have not known where he was. No idea. So if you guys know any story on Adam Cole, feel free to share it in the chat. Otherwise, I'm sure we will hear all about that tomorrow. Okay. Okada's dropkick, says Broski. That might have been what did it. God, he throws pretty ones too, doesn't he? Yeah, I wouldn't want to be dropkicked by Okada. Yeah, Vape Lord Yoda, don't look it up. It's not pretty. Just makes me hurt thinking about it. But so some of you, I guess, have not seen the Shibata headbutt before. I saw it the day after it happened, I think. And I was just like, that's gnarly. Oh, my God. But good to see him back, man. Just the fact that anybody can do anything after doing that. I'd have to relearn how to tie my fucking shoes. And this dude's wrestling. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. All right, well, that leaves us now with the main event of the evening for the interim AEW Championship. CM Punk, of course, is on the shelf. So we have to crown an interim champion. And it'll be Jon Moxley taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi. Love this match on paper. I think putting Mox in there with the Ace is the best match to do for this type of thing. Because Tanahashi, I always keep on the same playing field in my mind as New Japan's kind of like Cena. He's always been Cena's counterpart to me in my wrestling brain. I don't even know if that's accurate. That's just the way I've always thought about it. And he's a well-respected veteran who's fun. Everybody loves him. Perfect position to put him in here to actually challenge for another promotion's heavyweight championship, even though I don't think anybody truly believed he was going to win here, especially after Jay White retained, because I had pitched yesterday that maybe they could have some fun if they want to wife swap this, if they want to swap titles and say, here, you can take our AEW title to Japan for a month. We're going to keep your IWGP over here, and then we'll figure it out when we get back together or whatever. So if Jay White would have dropped this thing to Cole or Page, I was looking for the Tanahashi upset here. But once Jay White retained, I felt like it was pretty obvious that Moxley would come out of this as well. All I wanted out of these two guys was a good match. We got that. Mox did all of the bleeding tonight. He was bleeding hard, and bladed all over the place. A lot of blood from Moxley, which made the match really fun, really gritty. Kind of similar, with what he was doing with Wheeler Yuta a few weeks back. Tanahashi with a very, very scary top rope dive onto Moxley onto the floor early on in the match, which was a little bit scary. He also hit that beautiful, beautiful frog splash, whatever he calls it. He's got a good one to Mox for a near fall, but Mox immediately would roll that into a bulldog choke. I thought that was a really good spot. And was just badass. It was just badass looking to eat a move like that and then roll over and cinch up on somebody's neck while you're bleeding. Fucking wrestling, man. In the end, Jon Moxley, Death Rider for the win, pins Tanahashi in just a fantastic, good, solid match between two awesome veterans. He's your new interim champion. We even get the handshake at the end, the show of respect with Tanahashi. That's when Jericho and Daniel Garcia hit the ring. They begin to attack. Eddie Kingston comes out. The rest of the Jericho Appreciation Society comes out. And I thought that maybe we were going to get another debut. I'm like, well, we got Blood and Guts coming up on Wednesday, so this is either just a final setup for that, or we're actually going to get another debut here. But it was just another way to give us more of Claudio. And when somebody offers me more Claudio, I say yes, please. 3 helpings, please, of Claudio if possible. So Claudio's music hits. He comes out. I believe he swings one of the 2 Bueno guys. I think it was Parker. The heels retreat as the show goes off the air with Claudio's music playing. And then it transitions into Moxley's music, who is your new interim world heavyweight champion and will now face CM Punk whenever he comes back. And I think a 2022 version of Moxley and Punk is great. I know they had some early interactions. As a matter of fact, Moxley was supposed to be CM Punk's Shield before plans changed. And I'm pretty sure they had some maybe one-on-one matches during the early days of the Shield back in 2012. So to see them come back together here nearly a decade later should be pretty fun. Should make for some interesting promos between the two. And with the addition of the Blackpool Combat Club perhaps being there to back up Mox against CM Punk, should be pretty fun and interesting as well. And I think now for Blood and Guts, I think babyfaces are definitely going to win that. I don't see any way they can't. And yeah, Blood and Guts this Wednesday. It's going to be great. And we're going to be watching that together. So what did you guys think of the ending of this? I mean, it felt like it was a moment. Maybe it's because it was the interim champion. It's not a moment that you would really give to Moxley to celebrate, and you want to promote and help lead into your next big show, which is just coming up in a couple of days. But it felt kind of like a Dynamite type of ending there a little bit with the way the heels retreated and the baby faces celebrated. But Moxley is now champion again, interim champion. I don't know if this goes down in the books now as him being a 2-time champion or not. I don't know how the interim thing works. I think it's up to them if they want to include him or not. But technically, I guess Jon Moxley should be considered your first or our first 2-time AEW champion, right? Unless this doesn't count and I'm fucking stupid. So you guys got to let me know. Spectra, you better not be driving. Thank you again for $5 more, dude. Last super chat. I got an Osprey shirt for the show. Worth it. Is Mox aware that you only have so much blood in your body? Jesus. Anyway, good night, Greg. Appreciate that, Spectra. Yeah, Mox likes to bleed, and he likes to bleed hard. That match he had a few weeks back with Wheeler Yuta was nuts. Yeah, and, Alan Barkley, you're right, too. Predictability is not always bad. You don't want anything to be too predictable. In terms of this match, I felt like it was going to be Mox. I thought it was going to be Mox from the minute CM Punk forfeited the title. So I figured it would be Mox because I thought Mox was the best choice. So a lot of times you can predict that. It is easy to predict what the best likely logical option for them to do in a certain situation or who's going to win, a certain match. And whenever you're having an interpromotional thing or you're having a co-promoted event where different stars from different companies are going to be working against each other, you have to consider that as well. You're not just going to have one company, completely wiping out the other. You're probably not going to trade too many championship belts. That's why Moxley holding on to the AEW title and Jay White retaining was probably what was going to happen there. I didn't think they were going to do anything too crazy with the title belts. And the only thing really crazy they did, I guess, is put the IWGP tags on FTR, who will at some point, and I'm sure they're going to have to go down to Mexico to drop the AAAs. At some point, they'll have to go over there and drop those titles as well. So hopefully Dax Harwood is okay. Hopefully Adam Cole is okay. Those were our two in pay-per-view injuries that we apparently saw. And hoping that the reports on both of those guys turns out to not be very bad because it could be an ugly situation. Yeah, you think it should count as a 2-time AEW champion for Moxley? I kind of agree. They'll probably consider it that. Alrighty. Well, I think that is going to do it for me. Not much of an audience in here since we've ran through all of the results already, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. But I appreciate you guys joining me this evening, and make sure you're here tomorrow night after WWE Raw. We will be up here to talk about John Cena's return and what he's going to say, and, of course, him celebrating 20 years in the company and likely starting some sort of a program tomorrow night with someone heading into SummerSlam. So we'll see what that turns out to be. So you guys have a good rest of your Sunday night. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you all tomorrow night after Monday Night Raw. Y'all be good.